Hey Bookworms, it's Jade from Bedtime Bookworm. Welcome back to my channel. So this is the start of my, I think it's a week 5 currently reading vlog. Man, this month has gone by so fast. Today is the very last day in January. I just can't believe that a whole month of 2017 is already done. So I finished a book last night and I want to tell you my thoughts about it. One of the books that I've been reading is Asunder, which is the second book in the Incarnate series. Just like a quick overview, basically this is a world where the same people have been reincarnated over and over again for like thousands of years. They all know each other until a new soul was born, and her name is Anna. She's the main character of the series. Just a really interesting dynamic about living in a world where like everybody around you knows each other so well, but also that they have lived so long. I mean, they're practically immortal, right? Like, they've lived thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and they remember like everything, or not everything, like, you know, bits and pieces, but I mean, they remember their prior lives. So like the world building in this series is just so good. So I finished the second book last night and I was a little bit disappointed just because I love the first book so much and it wasn't quite as good for me. What I liked about the second book is the world building continues to be amazing. Like, it's just such an interesting concept, and there is actually like a big reveal at the end of the second book that was like, my mind was blown. I was like, what? That's what's going on? Like, that's crazy. It made me look back on like the first book with kind of like a different view. It gave me a different view of some of these characters. It was unique, I guess. That's another thing about these two books so far, is that I just think they're so unique when it just, I guess, the world building. It's so unique. I haven't read anything like it, and like the big reveal that I read last night, I just like, what? I don't know. Obviously, I really liked that. This world is also like a mix between a sci-fi and a fantasy. It's mostly fantasy because it's like in a made-up world, and there's like dragons and like magical creatures and things. There's also science, and because these people have been alive for thousands of years, and it's the same people, they, like, their scientific discovery, you know, happened really fast. So they have like robots that clean the streets. They have like tablets and cell phones where they can talk to each other and send each other videos. But it's still in a fantasy world because there's freaking dragons. Like, that's really cool. So obviously I still really enjoy the book and the series. I'm definitely going to read the last one because I want to know how it all ends. But let me tell you a little bit about what I didn't like and like what kind of like dragged me down when I was reading this book. I think this series is definitely a little more character focused than what I'm used to. Definitely the second book is even more that than the first book. I'd say the second book it's a little bit of a mystery, but it also has a very strong contemporary vibe. So if you're someone who really likes contemporary, but you're kind of trying to like branch out and read some fantasy, I would definitely recommend this series because there's, especially in the second book, there's a lot of like relationship drama that I didn't really enjoy. I thought it was petty. I mean, the main character's a little bit immature. I'm not a huge contemporary fan. I don't really like to read about relationships. That's just boring to me, but I know it's not boring to everybody. So if you like contemporary, you like reading about relationships, I think that will appeal to you about this book. I think it's a good like gateway between contemporary and fantasy. So that's really like the main thing that I didn't like, is that it was so character focused that a lot of times it felt kind of slow, and then some of this like relationship drama stuff, which was kind of like, I guess, part of the plot line, but like I wasn't really interested in it. It made me roll my eyes and I was bored. So that is what I really didn't like about this book. Obviously I had mixed feelings, and I think I'm gonna end up, I gave it a 4-star on Goodreads, but I think it's really closer to a 3.5 because I really enjoyed it, but man, that relationship stuff was really like dragging me down. Last night I had, I think, a little over 100 pages. I'd gone out to happy hour with my coworkers and I was like, okay, so I think I'm just gonna read a little bit, like 20 pages, and then put it down, because then I'll also have like 80 pages to read the last chunk, because I like to read the last like 80 to 100 pages in a chunk because it's usually like That's when all the exciting stuff is happening, right? I was just gonna read a little bit because it was already like 11 p.m., which is an hour past my bedtime already. I try to go to bed at like 10 because I'm an old lady. I sat down to read it and things got crazy. And so I was up till like 12:30, which is like way past my bedtime, finishing this book when I hadn't really planned on it. The plot twist or the big reveal or whatever totally blew my mind, and I was like, what is happening? And I really, really liked the ending. Like I said, if you like contemporary and you want to try fantasy, or if you like both, then you might not mind the relationship stuff, and I think you might really like it. But I do know that a lot of people think the main character, Anna, is annoying, and I definitely noticed that more in this second book. I can see why she's annoying, and she was annoying me, but that doesn't mean that she's gonna annoy you. So I definitely think that people should give this series a shot. I think it's pretty underrated as a series. I don't hear people talking about it very often, but at the same time I can see why some people might not like it. So it's definitely not for everybody. Okay, I think that's all my thoughts on Asunder. I'm definitely going to read the next book, and I can't wait. Once I decide what I'm gonna read next and get started, I will definitely check in with you guys. I'll talk to you later. Hey bookworms, so it is Monday at about 5 p.m. and it's time for me to wrap up this weekend's reading. So the last time I talked to you, I had finished Asunder and I hadn't started another book yet. I did actually follow my plan, and the next book I picked up was The Demon King by Cinda Chima, and it is really good. So I'm about halfway through it right now. It's totally like hitting my fantasy spot. It's just everything that I could want in a fantasy. There's a lot of political intrigue. I love the main character. The world building is awesome. There's obviously like a really intricate world. There's lots of kissing, which I like, and it's like fun kissing, not like super serious kissing, because kissing should be fun, right? There's a lot of diversity in this book. There's a group of people that come off as being Native American-like. They live like in the wilderness, and they live in clans, and they have like two-word names like Fire Dancer and Digging Bird and things like that. And the way that their complexion is described is also diverse. They're not all like white characters. And there's some interesting stuff going on with hierarchy as far as like the rich and the poor and the wizards and royalty and the clan. So that one's a winner, and I'm probably going to finish it in the next day or two because it's just that good. It's a really long book. It's like over 500 pages, and I totally inhaled it this weekend, which partially was because it was really good. I read for like 4 hours yesterday, but I've also been sick. I've had a cold since like Thursday, which is part of the reason why I haven't checked in. I have spent a lot of time reading and not a lot of time doing anything else. So that's the physical book that I've been reading, and I have changed my audiobook from The Great Hunt. Next week, like on the 15th, the day after Valentine's Day, I have a book club meeting. It's for The Time Traveler's Wife, and so I started that over the weekend. I did a little bit of cross-stitching and listened to it, and that's going pretty well. At first, I had a little bit of a hard time keeping track of things because I'm listening to it on audio, and some of the time travel stuff was a little bit confusing, but anytime I was really confused, I have the physical copy as well, so I would just like flip through the physical copy and kind of get it all straightened out in my head. Now that I've kind of gotten the hang of like what's going on and all the time jumpingness, I'm finding it really interesting. It's a romance primarily, and I think that for me, I mean, shouldn't be surprising, but for me, the best part of it is the science or like the world building around the time traveling. It's really interesting and kind of mind-boggling. Like, I think I understand it, but at the same time, I don't understand how it works. So this guy, who's the time traveler, you know, lives his life, and he goes back and visits his wife when she was a kid. So she grows up knowing her husband like the whole time, right? Because he's been visiting her since she was like 6 or something. But then when they finally meet in real time, he doesn't know who she is because he hasn't gotten to that part of his life. So it's really weird because she has known him all her life, but he doesn't know her at all, and he's just like getting to know her now. I don't know, it's weird. It's like the future has already happened for her because it's in her past, but it hasn't happened for him, and it is totally mind-blowing. It makes my head go in circles, but I mean, I think I get it. I mean, that's basically what it is for her, it's already happened, but for him it hasn't, which is just really weird, and I don't know how that could be really possible, but at the same time, it kind of makes sense. I don't know. It's like the future has already happened. How does that work? I don't know. Time traveling always boggles my mind. But that's the part that I'm finding the most interesting, and like the things that he can and can't do in the past. And apparently he can travel into the future, which is really cool, but they haven't talked a lot about that. But this book has a lot of diversity as well. It has a lot of mental health diversity. So there's characters who are like manic depressive or just depressive, alcoholic, that kind of stuff. But because this is an adult book and it's a romance book, it's very character centered and lots of like people having dinner together. Like there was a Christmas dinner, not scene, but it was multiple scenes of them having Christmas dinner, and I was so bored. So bored. The time travel stuff is really interesting, and I mean, I'm still interested in the romance. So that is my currently reading update for week 5. I hope you guys are having a good week, and until next time, bookworms, keep reading. Bye! Hey bookworms, it's Jade. Welcome to bleh. Hey bookworms, it's Jade. Why can't I say this? And I will bleh. I can't do this.